All right, welcome back. This is episode 105 of the Unsecurity podcast. And I'm your host this week, Brad Nye. Today is November 10th, and joining me this morning, as usual, is Evan Francine. Good morning, Evan.
Good morning, Brad.
How are you today?
Tired again,
Yeah,
grumpy, old,
so
slow,
standard.
fat.
A normal day.
Yeah, pretty much. It's good to be here, though.
Good. Well, and as you can see on the video, we have Oscar Minks with us today. Good morning, Oscar.
Hey, good morning, Brad.
I don't know if you saw the show notes, but I called out your sweet southern drawl there.
I did see that. It's a lot to live up to today, so I hope I don't let anybody down.
Hey, Oscar, say barbecue.
Barbecue.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. Love it.
All right, so as is tradition, let's catch up with what has happened over the last week. Evan, how was your week and your weekend?
It was a good week, man. 5 or 6 really good partnership, potential meetings. IOXT, I don't know if you've ever heard of IOXT, but that's a pretty cool alliance with IoT makers, manufacturers, to get certified on, how to secure those things. So there's a movement now with IoT to start, sort of self-regulating to get them to secure their devices and secure their things out of the box. So that's pretty cool. Bunch of other really cool meetings. Consortium Networks was another really cool meeting, which was kind of it's a bunch of not old, well, maybe they're old, but a bunch of information security veterans who grew up in places like Mandiant and FireEye and places like that have now gone off and want to do kind of this greater good thing.
Okay.
Yeah, so good meetings last week. They did the security shit show. We talked about 7 ways security can improve your sex life. That was an interesting show, but it's adults only. It's 10 p.m. at on Thursday nights, but we didn't get raunchy. We totally stayed on topic, but we found a new. What do they call it? They call it the Fitbit for your man bits.
Yeah, I saw that.
Not cool, man. But so that was neat. And then last week's podcast was really cool with you, me, and Richie Breathe.
Yeah.
Overall, it was a really good week. Just tons of stuff going on, man. Fourth quarter, you guys are just as crazy, if not crazier.
Yeah, it's been crazy. Speaking of crazy, Oscar, how was your week?
It was busy. It's been a very busy last few weeks over here. Lots of incidents, fires, things like that going on. Saving the world one day at a time. It's it gets hard.
I think you guys in that team have been 24/7 for what, 2.5 weeks?
Yeah, 24/7 for a little over 2 weeks. So yeah, lots of nights, weekends, and now we're starting to ramp down, which is good. It's good. Helping our customers through these tough times. And I don't want to jinx myself, but things are going pretty good so far this week.
Good. That's good. Yeah.
How about you, Brad?
Mostly doing a lot of that Office 365 hardening for the national retailer. That's been interesting because the guys that I'm working with want to do the right thing, but they don't have experience with this. And the person that had set it up and was in charge of it just basically left. They had didn't have like good documentation. So it's been good. They want to do the right thing. That's the important part. So it's been a lot of like teaching and me going, where did they move this to now?
It's like a carousel in there, man. Every time I log into someone's admin portal, something is in a different place than it was before.
And then they're making a bunch of changes for like the security settings are now going to be under the compliance center, and you go to one place in their documentation and go to the link, and then it's like, this is going away, click here, and then it's completely different.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been interesting. That and I haven't really. You guys have had the IRs pretty well under control the last week. I haven't had to do anything that way. This weekend was nice. Here was like, what, 75 both days, which records for both of them. So just relaxing and enjoying that weather, because now they're saying 4 to 7 inches of snow this afternoon. So yeah, 75 to 4 to 7 inches. Yay, welcome to Minnesota.
Yeah, we got that 75-degree stretch down here too. It's about the same here in Kentucky over the weekend, and we're lucky enough you can see the sunshine blaring in through my window here. It's another beautiful day today. I think we're supposed to hit 80 today, which will be a record high for us, November 10th. We're gonna get a cool down, not quite as cool as you guys. I think we're down to like 50s the second half of the week with lows in the 30s. So I'll take that. Normal fall weather.
Yeah, that's not bad. Yeah.
The sun's shining through where I'm at too.
No, there's no sun outside. It's all overcast. Like the worst part was looking at the weather and had seen the weather service say, like, get out and enjoy this weather. This is the last time we'll see the 70s until April.
Oh man.
Yeah,
so depressed. Yeah. Did all the snow melt you guys have gotten before? Because I know you had quite a bit piled up, right?
I mean, in the parking lots where they, put them into that giant piles, there's still actually snow. So it'll be there till probably May.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's what you sign up for.
It's Minnesota.
Those could be some pretty sweet jumps if you have a dirt bike.
Yeah. Oh, all right. So I guess we should probably get started on some security stuff, huh?
Yes. I mean, I don't know. I'll talk about anything. It's just cool to hang out with you guys. Do you see this cell right here? This one right there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one that they kept me in for a while. Yeah, this is what happens. This is what the prison looks like when you try to lock me up. It ends up going like this for you. So just saying, you probably don't want to catch me.
I thought it was a DIY project.
Can't keep a lion in the cage, man. Can't keep a lion in the cage.
Nope. Wow.
All right.
Security stuff.
Let's talk incidents. So no surprise that, as Oscar mentioned, that IR work is keeping us busy. They have that report around healthcare from, was it DHS and Secret Service a couple weeks ago. So thought, hey, we've had enough IRs coming in lately. What are some things that people should be doing? What are do's and don'ts when you bring in an IR firm? So that's why Oscar's here. But first, why don't you tell us a little bit about Team Ambush?
Yeah, so you switched gears on me there real quick, man. I was
prepared. I gotta keep you on your toes.
Different question.
I actually threw that in there because Brad wrote the show notes, and I was like, we talk a lot about this Team Ambush. Who the hell is Team Ambush? And I want to tout the team a little bit because you guys are pretty damn awesome.
Yeah, I like that. They deserve that too. So Team Ambush is our red team and blue team here at FRSecure. And so for those who don't know, we got a gang of really skilled technical security experts, some of which specialize in offensive security. So penetration testing, that's everything from, doing internal tests, external tests, web applications, red team engagements, which is, we'll throw the kitchen sink at you through a little bit of social engineering, a lot of enumeration, trying to find weaknesses in your posture or in your people and exploiting those to be able to get to gain an internal presence and foothold in your network. And then from there, see if we can get to your important data, really simulate what an attacker is doing in the real world today. And then we also have blue team services, which is our defensive services. So that handles all of our digital forensics, as well as instant response, threat hunting capabilities as well. And I know the big talk lately is, we've been busy with incidents, and there's been a whole lot of work, but I can tell you, as we're in Q4, Our red team practice is just as busy right now. Those guys are pen testing like crazy. We're at capacity right now, at capacity plus, I'll say that. I've got both sides of this team is putting in work after hours and on weekends so we can help clients with their security. And, you know, a lot of kudos from me to both sides, the red and the blue. Feel incredibly lucky to have such a fantastic team, a great group of guys who are always willing to put in the extra effort to do what's right, to help our clients and our partners. I will say too, you know, it's been busy all of Q4 so far, which, you know, we're almost halfway through there. And like I said, a lot of extra hours put in from both sides, and everybody just takes it on with great attitudes. They're happy to be here, happy to be helping. And I think they all feel similar to how I feel, that we're lucky to have the opportunity to be in the situation we are, to really be able to make a difference and help people. And whether that's on the proactive side of doing testing for people, or if it's on the reactive side of helping people when they're in trouble. I think we're all driven by the mission, and we feel lucky to be here. But yeah, it's just a fantastic, awesome team who can really do just about anything, and love them to death.
I think the coolest part is watching the two teams interact. And like, we've got an incident, and you'll have one of the pen testers jump in and help explain what's going on with the piece of code, or, you know, the IR to the blue team talking to the red team and saying, hey, here are the things we're seeing, you know, and what's going on in the real world, to help them with their testing and simulation.
For sure. Yeah, it's really awesome. You know, our purple team activities, right, are really beneficial for both sides. You know, there'll be some times where we have some folks on the red team, you know, who are really good at reverse engineering, really good at decryption. And so, you know, if we have something that we're having a hard time decrypting or deobfuscating, they're always willing to hop over and help us reverse those things. The same thing, like Brad mentioned, if we identify programs that maybe we're a little unfamiliar with what these programs are doing, they'll come over and use some of those reversing skills to help, you know, put some sanity to some of these things and some logic behind it. And it's really awesome. And yeah, on the flip side, you know, we're doing a lot of things for them now where, you know, we're working together in tangent to look at attack techniques. And from the blue team perspective, exercising and showing how that we can detect those techniques and how they could be stopped. And so it gives them, you know, insight into how to modify some of these techniques to be a little more evasive. And, you know, through that, I think, ongoing relationship, we're continually just leveling each other up. You know, we're sharing these skills, and we take those skills and we keep building on them. And it's a really great thing. We fired up these Hacked You sessions now. We're doing like once a month too, which is really cool. And right now the goal is, you know, each month, and we're going to kick these up to twice a month soon. And we hope to one day be able to start sharing some of these with the public, the videos, but I'll explain that in a minute. But so essentially we're going to be picking an exploit each week or each month. And, you know, what I'm trying to do is get someone who's really unfamiliar with that exploit today to go in, really learn that exploit. And we're not saying, how do you run the exploit? What does that exploit mean? I want you to be able to explain it to me from the ground up. Why is it vulnerable? Why is the exploit possible? How do you execute that exploit? And then what repercussions does that exploit have? What can you do with it? And then on the flip side, we're having someone from the blue team that's working with them say, how do you identify the exploit? What impact will this exploit have on your domain or your enterprise? And then long term, you know, like, how do you really remediate and prevent this exploit from happening? And so it's a lot of fun. We're doing these sessions together in our lab we built, and doing some, you know, just some good education too. We open those up to the entire company right now, and see that attendance is, you know, it's good, getting better. And then when we finish these sessions, right now we've set up a new piece of our website called FRSecure Labs. And so we're taking these exercises and we're writing blog pieces and we're sharing all that information with the world so that folks will understand how do you do the exploit, why is it important, and then on the flip side, folks will understand how to prevent that exploit, how to recognize it, and how to remediate it. And so yeah, I'm super excited. We're doing so many cool things. I could brag about these guys. How long do we got? We could do it for the whole hour if you guys want. But,
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah.
It's crazy, like looking at, a year ago, where we were at with that team and where those guys were at, and just kind of getting their feet wet. And now, when I do need to jump in, which is becoming less and less often, like how it's just mind blowing how improved and leveled up that entire team has gotten in a very short amount of time.
I think it comes from just our a general attitude of the team as a whole, and that's a big thing that I believe in, and my team believes in too, is that we level each other up, we educate from within, and there's no sacred knowledge here. And I know that you guys have both had that before in the past, where a new guy comes into an environment and there's someone senior who thinks they know everything, and they don't want to share it with anybody because they're afraid that they'll give away their secrets, right? And that was one of the things that always drove me crazy when I was young coming up, is seeing those people who should be leaders trying to hold information to themselves to keep a gap. And we're really big here on, we don't do that. There's no egos. There's no differences between any of us. Skill sets are things that are learned through support with each other. You don't judge anyone for a skill they may have or may not have, because I guarantee there's another skill they have that you don't have. You just haven't figured that out yet, and you will in due time if you give yourself the opportunity and give them the opportunity. And so we're really big on making sure that any knowledge that I have, I want my entire team to have, and I want them to be better at it than I am. And I think that bleeds down through everyone on the team, my senior guys all the way down to the junior guys too. And we constantly share, we constantly try to help each other, level each other up. We don't work on islands. We work together as a team a whole lot. And I think you're right. I think we're really seeing how that model works, and how bought in people are too. It's a beautiful thing to see that, when you got a whole team that wants to support you and help you get to a level that you want to be, magic can happen, man. It's really beautiful.
You have to threaten people to go take some time off. Like those guys are working, like it's like 12, 15 hours, and you're like, what are you doing here? I'm going to shut off your access.
Yeah, and that's not just one person. I'm not going to call anyone out specifically, but I've had a few folks on my team that's like, take a day off. No, I don't want to. Or they're off work, but they're logged in working with us. And I'm like, what are you doing, man? You just put in 12 hours. I want to help. I want to be here to help. I need you to be able to help. And for you to be able to help, you need to get some sleep. You need to get some food. You need to recharge the batteries. And I had, other folks like, hey, take tomorrow off. You've been burning, for 9-10 days straight right now. Nope. I'll take it on the back end. We got to get through this. And it feels great. I mean, it feels like family. It feels like a brotherhood. And like I said, we're all just, I don't know, we're in it together and we're fighting a good fight. And I think everybody is bought in for that. And that's really important.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, super cool, man.
So,
you didn't even mention the CTF stuff that you guys do too. I mean, I don't know how you fit that in too. We had you on
after
August?
10 episodes ago, maybe. Yeah. We talked about the CTF work that you guys do too. Yeah, I sat in last week on the, on the demonstration, and it was damn cool, man. And there was I don't know, 50 people there, maybe.
Yeah, there was quite a few.
Seemed like at one point.
Yeah, we had a pretty good crew on there. And Evan got to see I didn't explain in the beginning, and we have this tradition now where every week or every month, whoever presented the previous month makes a slideshow for who's presenting this month, and they're not allowed to see it until until they present it. And so, it's kind of on talk. It's meant to be fun to kind of warm everybody up, get a few laughs, and let it set the precedence that we mean this to be fun. We want it to be loose. We want people to interact and ask questions if they want to and don't feel uncomfortable. And so it was pretty hilarious. I think there was a lot of talk. It was we were looking at golden tickets. But I think I learned how to make golden ticket soup, which I'm not going to give the recipe here.
Right. Well, you're right. I didn't know that when I came in. So I was like, what the hell? Yeah, I'm trying to figure it out. I'm like, no, I mean, it's not, I don't get it. It's so distracting. Like, cause I know the pieces, and then I'm seeing how you're putting together the soup. I'm like, what the hell does that have to do with that? But then, yeah. And then you guys got into the real dick. Okay. I get it now.
Yeah.
But it was funny. But at first it caught me so off guard. I was just like, all right.
If others were feeling the same way, I have a feeling that when we got to the slide that says Captain Picard is the best Jedi, everybody probably understood this was a joke.
Yeah. Yep.
So that's a good way to start some fights.
Oh yeah. There's some things in there that are meant to be like just fun triggers for people.
Yeah, poking. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So Bill, that's how you can tell that team is on both sides is so close. Like nobody they know the limits, and nobody takes it personal.
Yeah.
So
it's a lot of fun and that goes on, I'll say.
I mean, you have to when you're working that much and that closely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we laugh a lot. I mean, and that's important. I've worked in those environments too, where we didn't have that kind of open communication top environment, where it was okay to put your guard down, be yourself, say things that you might get poked at and poke other people sometimes, but it builds camaraderie and it keeps us motivated and happy when we're in stressful times. And, you really see the team pick each other up at times, and you see us really have a good time. Even when we're in the middle of a really challenging and stressful situation, there's always something to smile about in life. We're helping people. We're trying our best, even if it is hard right now. So we should enjoy doing that as much as we can.
Yeah. So I think that's a good transition. Talk about with all the incidents that you've been doing recently and the stressful times, and, I guess give us a recap of, what we're seeing right now. What's active. I mean,
yeah, I think it's so, I've been thinking about this a whole lot, and, we saw the report that came out. I think it first broke on CNN, right? And the DHS put out some statements, and then every other news media picked it out, and some other people would probably aren't even going to say their name, put it out there too. And I'm not saying that wasn't a real threat, but I'm saying that threat's been there and it's always going to be there, right? And that threat existed before that article came out. That threat exists today. That threat's going to exist 2 weeks from now, 2 months from now, 2 years from now. And so there is always a thing, where we know the media loves to sensationalize things. And in some cases, that's good. I could see the positive from that. It got a lot of people thinking that may have not been thinking about that at the time. And it gave us an opportunity to communicate with them and give them some knowledge that they would need, and that would hopefully help them prevent an incident from occurring or be more prepared if an incident did occur. And so while I may say that I do believe that was sensationalized, I think that it's real. It's always going to be real. And if we seize those opportunities as information security experts to use that to help people that we can touch and we can communicate with, I think that's a good thing. I will say that, there has been an uptick in incidents. I can also say that I looked through our actuals this year, and I can see there was an uptick in incidents about March, April. I can see it died down a little bit after COVID. I could look through last year and see there was an uptick around this season as well, like kind of Q3, Q4-ish. We know that these things are cyclical, and there's a lot of reasons around why they are cyclical when you look at APTs, right? There's a lot of challenges that advanced persistent threats have to face and conquer to continue to be operational. And so the nature of the beast is these things are going to be cyclical in nature. But that being said, they're cyclical, but they're always constant. meaning there's going to be times where there's increased pressure, but still every week the same old attacks are going on. People are still trying to gain those footholds.
Yeah.
And so so you, just for the listeners, you're referring to so they're clear on what we're referring to when we talk about the joint statement by the DHS and FBI.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about that credible threat, and I'm their words, credible threat against healthcare entities. And so we had some back end, information, about, so we kind of knew what was coming before it was released to the public. But, we heard word of up to 427, healthcare entities getting hit at roughly the same time. Well, that threat, that specific credible threat, never materialized, right? Because it was already supposed to have happened. So it didn't. But to your point, Oscar, 100%, these things are going to happen probably when you least expect it. That's just like Murphy's Law or whatever the hell it's called, where when you let your guard down, that's when you can expect to get hit. It just happens. And so even if it's cyclical, even if, we see a significant uptick in, and we predicted this too, right? I mean, I remember when COVID first came out, do you remember my fish diagram?
Yep.
You knew that was going to happen because it happens every single time. When significant world events occur that capture everybody's attention, attackers start to craft their attacks. They take the existing methods, right? There's nothing new even in the APTs today. There's some technical nuances that are new, but in terms of the steps that are taken, they're the same as they were 5-10 years ago. Mm-hmm. What attackers do is when these world events happen, they change the messaging. They just make it crafted a little bit better to capitalize on this current world event because they realize that it's got everybody's attention, right? And you're letting your guard down. You click the button. Oh, a COVID thing, blah, blah, blah. Next thing you know, you're in the news. So anyway, I just wanted to add, those two pieces. One is I don't know if the listeners knew specifically what we were talking about. Then, secondly, just to build off of what you said, Oscar, that, these things are cyclical, but don't let that fool you. Mm-hmm. If a lot of attacks happen in May, and so you let your guard down, decide you're going to take your big vacation and, not patch in May, well, you're going to get smacked.
Yep.
Yeah. So what are some things that you've seen, I guess I'll call it successful IRs, where what are the things that companies should be doing when they engage with us or any other IR firm to, maybe lessen the pain or make it faster to recover or minimize damage?
Yeah, I think there's a whole gang of things we could say on the good and the bad people do, right? The big thing I'll say is, having a partner that you trust and acting quick, because that can make all the difference in the world here. If you see things, and we're working with some clients right now who saw some things that they thought were alarming, concerning, and instead of holding that inside to say, well, we'll figure it out. We were engaged. And when we were engaged, we were able to get in there and see that this was, we had attackers staging for ransom on a significant environment. And by them calling us quick and us being able to act, we're able to contain that threat, contain that risk, and prevent that ransom delivery. We're also able to get in and make sure they have protected backups, because even when we engage, there's no guarantee we can stop that ransom delivery depending upon where they are in the kill chain. But what we can do is look at your backups right now, make sure we got good backups, and we can secure those backups as we begin that instant response. And so acting fast is really important, and it's better to err on the side of caution and just talk to an expert and see. I can tell you that we don't charge for an initial call. It's free. You can call me, call my team, send us an email, and we'll get on the phone with you for an hour or so, talk about everything that's going on, and give you our honest opinion. And there's been many times we talk to people and we say, yeah, I appreciate you reaching out, but I think you guys are okay. I think you contained this. You've done a good job. continue to monitor for these 2-3 things, maybe do this right away. And if you need my help, I'm always going to be here. Let me know. And then we have some folks who, reach out and we say, yeah, this is a good call. We probably need to get moving right away to try to stop this, because we know what the kill chain is. We know where they're going. So let's try to stop that. So I would say that, my number one is have a good security partner that you trust beforehand. Make sure you have that relationship, because you don't want to be hunting for a partner in the middle of an incident. And then on top of that too, one thing that's always stressful is when you go into an incident, if you have cyber insurance, and you got to start working with your cyber insurance, and then who knows who they're going to assign to your case. And I talk to people, it's like this: would you rather have your partner that you trust working your incidents, that knows your environment, that knows your people, that understands your business, or would you rather have some random company assigned by your insurance that doesn't know you? You have no idea who it's going to be, and they don't even know who it's going to be until it's time of the incident, in most cases. And the answer is always, yeah, I'd rather work with the people who know me. And so I urge people, if you have cyber insurance, talk to your provider and get your partner set up as a preferred vendor. And if your partner is set up as your preferred vendor and you have an incident, then you don't have to worry about any of that. You call your partner right away, and they'll get to work on your incident, and then you can handle the insurance stuff on the back end. Because what's most important in negotiating with the insurance, what's most important is protecting your assets and your people. And so I would say getting that done up front is critical. And then, besides that, erring on the side of caution. If you see things that you're unsure of, it's like the same thing we tell our people when we do social engineering training, right? Phishing training. If you're unsure, if you see something that's suspicious, report it. Find out from someone who knows. And I would say the same thing for entities and businesses and our partners and our clients. If you see something that's suspicious that you're not sure of, like I said, it's free to talk on the phone with us. We're not going to charge you for that. Send us an email, give us a call, and let us look at it together. We'll give you an honest opinion. And at the end of the day too, I hope it's nothing. I hope we can coach you through it in that hour so you're able to contain that. But if you need help too, we're always here for that. And even if you go with someone else to get that help, that's fine. I just want to help people prevent these incidents. I'm sick of seeing people get ransomed. I'm sick of seeing the businesses impacted, the families hurt, all of that. So we're here to help.
And I think you touched on a really good point on, acting quickly. How many times have we had somebody call us on a Friday afternoon where they detected the incident Monday morning, and then they call, Friday, because they couldn't figure it out all week. And I mean, when you're looking at that, I'm thinking of, there's a couple where, they did the pre-work with us. They identified something about 1 PM, and by like 4 or 5, we had tool deployed, and they were super on top of it and stopped what would have been a just devastating ransom event.
Right.
Yep.
Well, and one of the things that it seems like people get sort of confused is acting quickly and almost panic.
Yeah.
Right. So I always say act quick and deliberately, meaning what to do, and you're going to move quick. Right. You're not going to take a bunch of time. Should I go here, go there? Because on the what not to do side of things, what you don't want to do is not know who to call and start just picking up the phone and just start making calls. We talked about the one that, you guys know the one I'm talking about, just a couple of weeks ago, called my cell phone at 2 a.m. Right. I'm not the guy to call at 2 a.m. I will certainly come and help you when I awake, but that's not your first call. So everybody who's listening right now should know, if you're involved in this, what's my first phone call?
Yep.
Make sure it's on speed dial, make sure it's available, make sure that people that are on your incident response team, assuming you have one, know that number. Right. And hopefully you've done this legwork ahead of time, because it is all free. It's getting things squared away. Right. Like you said, Oscar, calling the person that you would call, whether it's FRSecure or whether it's Indiant or whoever your preferred provider is for incident response. You've already made the call. They know that you're the person. They know that they're the person you're going to call. right? So they've got, so maybe some paperwork already squared away with you. Maybe they've got a copy of your incident response plan on file so that when you do call, they can pull up that plan, start executing on that plan. It's all just simple legwork, and it is all free, right? I mean, in terms of just getting who am I going to call, and then, calling my insurance provider, if I have cyber insurance, making sure that they know who I'm going to call, right? Because the one thing you don't want to do is start getting down this path and realize that some of your expenses may not be reimbursable.
Okay.
Right? Or you get halfway down the path with your preferred provider before the insurance company says, well, you have to work with this provider. Well, now you've got rework. And the only people that are suffering, it's not the insurance company that suffers. It's not your security partner who suffers. It's your business who suffers. It's your customers who suffer. So you owe it to yourself, your business, your customers, your employees to just get this stuff away. So if you haven't done this and you're listening, push pause on the listen. Figure out who your preferred provider is going to be, get that number squared away, call your insurance provider, get that squared away, and then come back and hit play again on the podcast. It's that important. It's that urgent.
I mean, you just are wrapping up one exactly where that happened. You want to maybe talk a little bit about what we did for them and what happened?
Are we talking about the one that I got called?
No, this is a different one. Okay. No, a different one.
Yeah, I mean, it was exactly without going into too many details, right? But it's exactly what Evan's talking about there. It was, we come in to work with a client who was in a critical situation. And this is beyond, hey, we observed something. This is a critical situation. And so, we were their preferred provider. We weren't their preferred provider with their insurance. They didn't go through that setup. So they call us and they needed help bad.
Yeah.
And so we were engaged, boots on the ground, rolling 24/7, like you had mentioned, Brad, within a couple of hours. It was probably from the time they called to the time we were actively in there hunting, 2 to 3 hours, right, from that triage call. And so we're in there, we're making significant progress. And then the insurance provider comes into play and says, oh, we have our own preferred provider that you need to work with. And it was an incredible challenge for our client because, we're fully embedded in their infrastructure right now and we're actively hunting. And so to switch vendors would mean we got to stop what we're doing, remove our tools, let the vendor deploy their hunting tools and kind of start all over again.
Yeah.
And so it caused a ton of complications throughout that. And we did reach a gentleman's agreement in the beginning to say, let's get through this phase. Let's continue to hunt and identify those indicators of compromise and how they got in. We'll let the other firm assist with more back-end dead box forensics. And so that way we try not to have any overlap so they can get reimbursed for all of our services. But I can say that that one situation right there, we probably had to focus over the course of, the week and a half to 2 weeks we were engaged. Every day there was a couple of hours focused toward the segmentation of those duties, where those lines were, negotiating those contracts to make sure insurance can understand what's what. And the point being, it slowed down the process. It wasted a whole lot of time, a whole lot of my time, and I'll help you through that, but my skills are better suited hunting threats than negotiating with insurance. And we see those things in these situations. Every minute matters, every hour matters. And every time that your energy is spent on something that you're trying to solve outside of solving this incident you're in, it's not efficient time. It's not where your time should be focused. And it's going to delay your business becoming operational again. So it's critical, like Evan was saying, pause the podcast, go fix that. For people to get those relationships established, those processes established too. Have your plan, have those relationships built before this ever happens. Again, the last place you want to be figuring this out is in the middle of an incident. You got to have all this sorted before. And I know we've, touted like this before, but we got a plan. It's a really good plan and it's free on our website. if you haven't, go get that, download that plan. If you need us to help you, we'll help you through that. Start there and call your insurance and get those relationships built right away. And know your insurance policy too. That's another thing. I talk to some people, hey, what's the deductible on your policy? I don't know. Figure that out. It's just like car insurance, man. If you can afford, a $3,000 deductible to repair your car, that's fine. If you're aware of that and you can afford that. But what if you can't? What if your car's only worth $6,000? You got a $3,000 deductible. That insurance is worthless because your car is going to be totaled if it's over $3,000 in damage anyway. So see what your deductible is. See what's covered. Understand if your insurance provider really does want to get to know you and want to work with you, or if they're on the back end hoping that their deductible's too high that it never kicks into play and you're going to be caught holding the bag in an instant. I mean, we see some astronomically high deductibles that some businesses have on their policy that they're not built to handle. And so there's a whole lot, that you can be doing right now up front to make sure that if an incident happens, you're going to be able to respond. You're going to be able to afford the services you need to get through that. And your insurance is going to actually have your back instead of fighting against you.
Yeah, no, those are good points. I think giving the team some props, the best part of that situation from kind of an outsider perspective, as it were, was the other company complaining that we were finding all the IOCs and that we were going too fast. We were basically too good.
Yeah. that was yeah, I don't want to get into that too much, but it was nice to hear from someone else that, hey, that's what we're supposed to be doing. Tell them to slow down. They're finding too much stuff.
Yeah.
No, I can't use the words right now that I want to say and how that made me feel, but
but it's so cool to have this team. We talked because we just talked earlier about how this team, is loose and enjoys each other and can have a good time. Yet when it's time for business, we get down to business.
Yeah,
we got work to do. We absolutely 100% realize, the importance of the situation. And so, we're working. I mean, the way you've organized things with the team, Oscar, has been amazing. Working in shifts, you don't drop the ball is never dropped from the beginning of the incident until we're done.
Yep.
Which is, I know that if I were on the other side of this, it would make me feel good. It would make me feel. What I'm not going to feel good about is that the attackers got me. The bad things, but having somebody on your side is such a. I mean, yeah, man, it's like calling the police, except for that should not be your first call in 99% of the times, but it's like that. It's like you call and they're there. We drop everything and like, there you go. What can we do?
Yeah. Kind of, you did touch on it too. Maybe the second thing that I would consider is the right thing to do is, like you said, trust your partner, right? If we're coming in and saying, okay, here's what needs to happen, and here's how we need to get this done, there's a reason for that. Don't argue. Don't not do it.
Yeah, for sure.
I think those are probably maybe the top, beyond what you said of being prepared and getting this stuff figured out ahead of time, and being proactive about it, is once something happens, trust the person, trust that partnership that you picked.
Yep. Yeah, I think that goes back to right in line with what we're talking about, right? Build those relationships before, choose someone you trust, have everything taken care of before an incident happens with your insurance and so on, that you can cover that financially. Understand that. And then, trust them. That's what they're here for. They're the experts to help you.
Yeah. What would you say is the top thing not to do?
Panic. Yeah. Panic. Do things that you're unsure, but you think they're right because you're going to do the wrong thing half the time, at least.
Call 5 different companies.
Yeah. Don't panic, and trust your own support group and team internally too. I mean, we see that. We see sometimes there's a really good team that work really hard. But they got a leader who makes the decisions who isn't necessarily integrated with that team. And so the team may have some knowledge the team has knowledge, have an idea of what should be done, but we sometimes see leaders outside of that bubble making decisions without their team. I mean, that happens quite often.
Yeah.
And that causes so many problems too, because number one, you're probably going to make the wrong decision if you're not trusting your own internal team. And then number two, you're going to break trust with that team. And then number three, just back to what we talked about, if you're in an incident situation, it's probably going to negatively impact your time to recover as well. So
yeah,
there's a lot of trust in this.
Yeah, I agree. I think maybe one of the things that leaders kind of tend maybe miss out on, and I'm not just talking IT, but business leaders, right, is in an incident, the amount of work that IT staff is doing. I mean,
oh, it's always a very, cohesive exercise between your incident response team and your technical team. We have to be one team when we're working through this. We rely upon each other entirely to get through this exercise. And those guys, kudos to all these awesome technical teams that we've been working with, because, we're working around the clock. Those guys are putting in serious hours too. And they're right there doing great work cohesively with us to get through these tough situations.
Yeah. And I'm just thinking of the active ones right now, like how much they care, right? Like you can see, like, I'm not going to name names or anything, but I remember when one of them was first kicking off, like maybe a couple of days in, and you could just feel the guy's pain. Like when he was putting a message, like we were talking about it on the back end, like, oh, geez, dude, do we need to check on this guy? Like he's really struggling with this.
That's the hard part about, there's a lot of things that are hard about this, but that's one of the harder parts, is seeing people who care about their businesses, and just seeing them struggle mentally. It's a huge weight and a huge burden. And I think sometimes, people will put more of that burden on themselves than they should, because they haven't been through this before. They don't understand, how common this is. And, we were delivering a tough message yesterday too, to understand when we're delivering messages to people, like, I always want to know, well, who was it? Like, who's the account that got breached, or who managed that, or who did this, and there's always fingers to be pointed, right? There's always something more that we could have done. But at the end of the day, like, these root causes aren't shaming exercises. We're humans. We make errors. People make mistakes. And as long as it wasn't negligence that got you there, it was an honest mistake that got you there. There should be no shaming in that. And we should just take that as an opportunity to learn and become better people. But we see exactly what you're talking about a whole lot. And yeah, it gets hard. I hate seeing people mentally struggle with these situations on top of everything else.
Well, what you said is, putting myself in the IT shoes and having gone through some issues, you do care, you want to get it back up, but B, you're always like, if you don't have support from above, you're like, well, am I going to get fired for this? Right? Why am I going to be putting in 15, 18 hours a day for 2 weeks if I'm going to be the one who's, going to have to take the blame and get cut? So
we always hope that doesn't happen, and that's something we're very clear when we explain these root causes. Like, it's not to the blame, again, if it's not negligence, right? It's not to blame that person. This is an opportunity to improve, right? Always got to see these opportunities to get better, to improve. And I've seen some of these phishing campaigns, man. One that we're looking at this week right now, it's like, we were looking at it yesterday with the team, and it's like, some security professionals could have fallen for this. It was a really, really good fish. It was phenomenal. And it was a new technique we haven't seen before. And so, like Evan mentioned, it's the same old kill chain, right? They're doing the same thing over and over every year. They're just tweaking and doing different things. They were good at, on knowing psychology and the things that we're more adamant to click on. And they start to learn the tools we use a little bit more, like we've seen OneNote phishing, and the OneNote phishing it's really good. I mean, they're using legitimate OneNotes to send to people, and the majority of the population isn't going to be able to discern that based on our old phishing training. Like, make sure it's a legit link. That's a legit link. That's Microsoft. That is going to a legit link, but embedded in that OneNote is malicious content. And so, like, it was kind of brilliant. It's so simple, but it's kind of brilliant. And we're seeing some stuff too with other like SAP and business tools and things like that we're using, that they're able now to compromise and embed exploits within those. And so we're seeing those fishes kind of evolve, for now they're getting valid tools from other entities you may do business with. They're using valid links, and then within those links, they're embedding malicious code. And so, it's going to continue to evolve. We got to continue to learn and get better, and people are going to get phished. Yeah. But I think it's important for us, like as being security researchers, is when we identify those techniques, to educate and to modify our services, like for our social engineering stuff. As soon as we saw those OneNote phishes start, we started doing phishing campaigns to match that. And so it's so we can stay ahead of that curve and try to get ahead of that curve and try to get our users and our clients and our partners ahead of that curve so they don't get phished. It's all about learning. It's all about becoming better.
Well, and
one of the things you'd mentioned, Brad, and this just lends credibility. One of the things you'd asked Oscar was, what's one of the things, one thing you tell people not to do? And the answer was, I think it was perfect. It was, don't panic. I think another thing not to do is not make false assumptions. To assume that this isn't going to happen to you is wrong. It's going to happen to you. You have human beings who work for you. You have computers, that you use that can be manipulated to trick them to do all kinds of things. You talk about the new phishing attacks. They're using intelligence beyond what we're using to defend, not our company, I'm saying, but in the general, right? So they're moving faster than you are. Their attacks are moving faster than your ability to defend. And if you don't have anything for response, I don't understand. I struggle with believing that not having a response is not negligence. Because it's going to happen. So you not planning for it, in my mind, is negligent.
I agree.
Pretty indefensible. I think. Go ahead, Oscar.
I was going to say the first phase in incident response is to prepare. That's the first phase, is to prepare. And prepare is having that plan, right? But prepare also includes a lot of things we're talking about now. Prepare involves actively doing social engineering campaigns on your own employees to see if they're susceptible and identifying ways to educate them. Prepare is also to do penetration testing on your external network to identify where those soft spots are so you can start to fix those things. Doing continual vulnerability scanning, doing internal penetration testing, testing your environment and your people so you can identify where your blind spots or your soft spots are so that you can place better controls around those things to help prevent the incident from occurring. That prepare phase is critically important, and we see it being neglected a whole lot in a lot of these situations we're in. If they had really, really paid attention to that first phase, they could have reduced that likelihood by a significant amount.
So there's 6 phases? 5, 6, yeah. So we did that IR maturity assessment and put that together, and I think, prepare. We knew prepare was important, but I think what actually caught me a little off guard was when we finished it. That prepare section was probably almost half, 40% of all the questions were in prepare.
Yeah, it was a big, significant piece of the whole plan is to prepare.
You don't realize how comprehensive it is until you actually sit down and do it. And I think part of that too, preparing is that executive buy-in, right? Like, if you have an incident as an executive, were you giving that team the proper resources, the proper manpower to do their job to protect the organization? If not, why are you blaming them when you're hamstringing them?
Yep.
The thing you have the buck stops at the top, right? Ultimately, I ask this question over and over and over again at just about every organization I've worked with. Who's ultimately responsible for information security here? because I want to know the answer. I already know the answer. The answer is your CEO, your board of directors, if you have one. That's who's ultimately responsible for information security here. Their job, and they delegate all kinds of things. I'm not saying that they're the ones who write the incident response plan, but it's their job to delegate to somebody that an incident response plan has been created.
Mhm.
It's their job to ask questions of their IT folks or their information security folks. Where are we at in our preparation for an incident response? I saw on CNN, that hospitals are getting attacked this week, going back to what we said it was in the news. Beware. Situational awareness is so damn important. Ask your IT folks, are we prepared for this? If not, where are we not prepared for this? It's just those discussions that never take place. A lot of these things don't cost a dime, right? Taking responsibility for information security in your organization, that decision doesn't cost you a dime.
So you shouldn't
I
be
also say,
I was gonna say, you shouldn't be the executive that told me after an incident, quote, somebody's gonna have to take the blame and it's not me. S rolls downhill.
can I
Yeah,
also
and
say,
that person, that person should be held liable.
It was a
I'm sorry.
VP.
yeah,
Yeah.
That
Anyway.
I was going to say, going back to exactly like Evan's message and what we're talking about before, it's also their job as that CEO, whatever, to trust their people and to trust that message their people are delivering. I see that so many times. And, it's one of the biggest things we talk about, right, is the inability to communicate. But it's also, and it's two-sided. Like maybe it's us sometimes explaining things to those C-levels, but also maybe sometimes it's those C-levels just not wanting to hear those messages or dismissing those messages. I can tell you, past lives, I've screamed out loud for years to those C-levels about things that are going to get us if we don't take care of them now. This is going to be a problem. Was it a problem now? Well, no, but it's going to be. Well, then I don't care about it. That's a message a lot of those the C-suites deliver. And, I hate to say I told you so, but I can say that those things later came back to get us. And it was a problem of that trust, internal communication,
right.
trust between leaderships and teams.
And I've always, C-level, executives, they deserve, I understand, kind of the conundrum that they're in. They've got a billion things on their plate, right?
Mm-hmm.
I know sometimes, most of them are very, very smart, right? You don't get to be a CEO of a company by accident usually, except for this guy. But, they got so many things on their plate, and then here's another thing. And you're telling me, and I think one of the things we've done in our industry that kind of shot ourselves in the foot is we cried wolf so damn times that we're just the boy who cries wolf. Oh, here's security again. Yeah, what? You know what I mean? So we have a long ways to go before we really start to get, I think, CEOs and C-level executives understanding that this is to be treated just like anything else, business, like sales. Well, the business doesn't run anymore if we don't keep selling stuff, right? The business doesn't run anymore if we don't keep track of our money. So we need to have a CFO. The business doesn't run anymore if ransomware takes us down for 2 weeks. So we need to have a CISO, right? But you need to elevate this role to where you've got the same voice, the same tone.
Yeah.
Because I don't think there's many CEOs that are like sitting around going, yeah, I just like being negligent. So screw security. We got to figure this out because there's just so many times you come into an incident and they're like caught completely off guard. The one that you were talking about, a couple of weeks ago, where they, they're kind of forced to negotiate with the attacker. It's like, that just pisses me off so much that you have to negotiate because you didn't take the proper precautions, to protect your backups and what have you. That prepare phase, right? How important that prepare phase is.
Yeah.
I think we should talk about that story for a minute. I didn't touch on that today. So what Evan's talking about, we had a partner who was ransom, and unfortunately their backups were also encrypted, destroyed. And so that's like, if we talk about number one things you can do besides preparing, if I'm just telling you one tip, I always say this to people: secure your backups. Make sure not just you have good backups, because I talk to a lot of people that have these great sophisticated backup systems that are all network connected. And at the end of the day, if it's network connected, our attackers are going to find those backups before they encrypt the rest of your environment. They're going to destroy those backups first, because that's the guarantee they're going to get the money from you. And so the one thing you can do is, like Evan has said, get out that old tape library, fire it back up, and put some stuff on tape and store it off network. So that way you'll secure your data. But anyway, they didn't have any backups. They were gone. So they had to begin negotiations. And we've seen in the beginning, that process isn't quick. The attacker went dark multiple times, dark for over a day at one point. And so here's the company down that's ready to pay because they want to get their business back up and operational, with an attacker who is not always around, I guess we could say. And then we go on to find out that the attacker in this situation was actually on the United States terrorist organization list, which means that their federal government prohibits negotiating with a terrorist organization. And so essentially government said, no, you can't pay these guys. If you pay them, you could be held criminally liable for funding that organization. And so on top of that, now our client, they don't have backups. I don't even have an attacker to negotiate with. Their data is gone. It's completely gone. And so now they're working through that painful process of rebuilding their entire infrastructure, and also at the same time accepting that a large portion of their historical data they wouldn't need for that business is gone. You can't recover it. And so don't always trust, number one, if you get ransomed, you're going to get your data back. That's one story. There's 10 other stories about the encryption keys not working, the attackers disappearing. There's so many things that can happen in that situation. And I don't want to fearmonger and scare people, but this is reality. Mm-hmm. If you get ransomed, and you don't have backups that are offline that are recoverable, there's a really good chance, even if you want to pay that ransom, you don't get your data back. So prepare. Step one of the 6-step process is the most important step of incident response.
And on that one, right, they have no way of telling if there was data exfil. Everything's locked up. All that history is unavailable. So you have to almost assume that it was.
Yeah, that's a really, really challenging one right now. And everyone wants to know that, right? When we come into these cases, it's especially if legal is involved, that's typically going to be priority number one is there evidence of exfil? And there are things that we can do to look for that. Like, even if the servers are not bootable, sometimes we can look at network data, right, to see anomalies in network traffic and network data to determine there was a surge of egress over this 3-day period going to this IP and I don't want, Eastern Europe. But we often see too that that data is not available, unfortunately. It's kind of a crapshoot if we see that people are going to have good network logging and they're even going to store it for over a couple of days. That's a big problem in these too. Like, people aren't storing artifacts for long enough, and that's logs. I mean, it's your system logs, it's your network logs, it's your device logs, it's your storage logs. It's all of those things. And there's things that we could do to pattern to determine if you have been exfils, if we have those good storage logs. If I start seeing your SAN performance logs are getting hammered the same time there's a network spike, and we see there was a mass ton of zip files that were created but deleted, I'm going to go ahead and say they zipped up your stuff and shipped it out the back door. But again, if those things are destructed, it's really difficult to be able to determine truly what was touched and what was exfilled. We do know, like with we're learning more and more about APTs, and that's something we're focusing on, is trying to identify who the attacker group is that's deploying these things. The ransomware as a service model throws a loop into a lot of that. And so, but if we can't have those statistics, we have to rely a lot on what are these APTs known for? Do they exfil? Do they shame? And things like that. But at the end of the day, yeah, it's a huge challenge for all of us.
Yeah. So great conversation. I know we're running up on time, and there were a couple of real quick stories that I think are important. First one that we have out there is WebLogic has an open exploit that is allowing installation of Cobalt Strike, which is that command and control. And so if you have a WebLogic server, patch right now.
I got good news on that one, Brad. I did do a little bit of research on that last night. We are sending a blurb out today. Some data I seen from the SANS Storm Center. I think they estimated there's only about 100 to 120, somewhere in there, of vulnerable systems publicly available. Publicly. Now, there could be internals, right? Yeah. But so that made me sleep a little better last night. But exactly what you said, patch that today.
Yeah, there's a patch out there. It came out a couple of weeks ago, and it's being actively exploited. If they get into your network and they can get Cobalt Strike in, I mean, how we see that as that main
I mean, that's
mechanism.
Just when we're doing penetration tests, that's how we start our penetration tests. So
that's
a bad thing for people.
The other big one is around Cisco. They put out some 0 days. There's a 0 day for their AnyConnect client, and there's no patch yet, which is not good. Allows an arbitrary code execution. And then they also put out, and kind of like got hidden, was where was it? There was 13 other ones around arbitrary code execution flaw in WebEx meeting desktop, and 3 arbitrary code execution glitches in a WebEx network recording player and WebEx player. And so that's not good.
No, that's not. Have you seen any proof of concepts on that yet? I really
I have not seen any on that. I haven't seen. I don't think so. This was the one I had was from ThreatPost. I don't see that it's been executed yet.
It will be. Let's just give it a day, right?
Yeah. There are some mitigations around it. For like the AnyConnect, they have to have an ongoing session by the targeted user at the time of the attack, and then the attacker needs valid credentials on the system that AnyConnect is running. Well, yeah, so that does mitigate it a little bit, but we see how many times do people have bad passwords?
Every time.
Right.
Unfortunately, every time.
If you've got the other ones were the Cisco SD-WAN, which includes a file creation bug, privilege escalation flaw, and denial of service flaw. So check if you've got Cisco in your environment and you're using the SD-WAN or WebEx or AnyConnect, check that out and apply patches or apply the mitigation controls that are documented.
Yeah, and I would say too, I don't have numbers like on this vulnerability, like compared to the WebLogic, but I can tell you they're going to be way higher as far as systems that are publicly available and vulnerable to this right now. So I think it's important people get on those updates immediately.
Yeah. Yeah. And the last one, we don't really need to talk about it. I thought it was interesting, but it was the Campari group on the rocks after a ransomware attack. And you never want to see this, but I won't lie. That headline made me laugh when I realized it's a alcohol. Basically, they do Wild Turkey, Grand Marnier, and Appleton Estate. So,
that actually makes me really sad because as a Kentuckian, love bourbon, and Wild Turkey is my favorite of all the brands. Well, Wild Turkey and Buffalo Trace. I'll give them both a shout out, but I hope it doesn't affect their rare breed production. Maybe I need to drive over there to Lawrenceburg today and see if they need any help, because I want to get that facility up and running as fast as possible.
Yeah, so they're saying it was Wagner Locker that was on there, but I thought it was a pretty interesting, funny headline for an unfortunate situation.
a very unfortunate situation. I wish those guys luck in the fight forward. Hopefully they can get up and running again. Hopefully they had good backups, and hopefully they had a plan. So
yeah. All right. Well, that's it for episode 105. Evan did have to drop off. We went a little long here today, but that's cool. We could go for hours on this stuff.
so
Any shout outs this week, Oscar?
no, just shout outs to my whole team. I reiterate what I said before. Team Ambush, one team. I can't be more proud of everybody on that team, and feel more lucky to be part of what we're doing than I do. And I know those guys are working incredibly hard and doing great work. And so just, huge shout out to the whole team. They've been awesome.
Yeah, I'll kind of mirror that and say, shout out to the consulting side as well. They had to completely redo how we do assessments and everything with being remote, and they're just flying and doing it.
They are killing it.
And
we saw a complete, we got hit with complete curveball, right, for them, and the type of work we did where, hey, guess what? You can't go outside anymore. And they were able to quickly adapt and keep our quality of work the same level it was before. And I'll second that. They're doing an awesome job.
And I'm also going to give a second shout out and this goes for both teams, is the backend support for those, our resource managers, project managers, customer success managers, all those juggling all these analysts and making sure things don't get dropped, and just the amount of work that they're putting in
they're like helping babysit my teams and the consulting team too, and at the same time keeping our customers happy, keeping our projects moving. Oh my gosh, they're doing so much work right now, and they're doing such a great job. They are.
And
they're
what's
really
amazing is I don't think I've heard any analysts complaining or any customers complaining, and they're just the amount of projects that they're managing, and like you said, babysitting. I mean, try to babysit us. Come on.
Yeah. I think it's Renee who calls them, they're like analyst wranglers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Pretty good term.
So, all right. Well, thank you to all our listeners. Send things to us. Man, it's tough to read. By email at unsecurity@protonmail. If you're the social type, socialize with us on Twitter. I'm at Brad Nye, and Evan is at Evan Francine. Oscar, I know you keep a low profile, so people can just reach out. Your contact info is on our website. That's probably the best way to get a hold of you.
Yep. Just shoot me an email. Or I'm sure you could hit up the Unsecurity podcast, and you guys know how to find me all the time too. So.
Yeah. All right. Lastly, be sure to follow Security Studio at Studio Security and FRSecure at FRSecure for more things that we do. So with that, thank you guys, and we will talk to you all next week.